how and when do you submit your ICAEW training file to become ACA qualified? Well, you are in the right place. So I actually submitted mine over just a year ago now. You might be thinking, is it not just, an automatic process that happens once you meet all of the requirements? And that is not the case. I actually delayed my process quite a bit because I met all the requirements in September last year, and that's just because I needed to find the time to submit. Submitting does not make you automatically ACA qualified, and it does take some time for that certificate to come through. If you've watched my video on how to become ACA qualified, 4 key pillars to become ACA qualified, and if you are going down that level 7 apprenticeship route like I did, there are even some more additional steps that you do need to take. So for those who don't know, the training file is where you document everything and it pulls it all together. So those 4 pillars can all be documented here in your training file. What's actually really good about the file as well is that it does have like a summary checklist, and you can essentially then just see all of your progress. So I'll put a link to this in the description below, but ICAEW do actually recommend submitting your training file once your training agreement is up, regardless of any exam progress. So using me as an example, by last April, I had passed all 15 exams, I had met the practical work experience, I had completed the ethics learning program with at least 3 ethical reviews. And as mentioned, I did do the level 7 apprenticeship, so I had also passed my project report as well. ICAEW actually specifically states that you cannot submit your training file before the end of your training contract. In some instances, actually, if you're maybe an AAT student or an ICAEW affiliate, you may be able to reduce the length of your training agreement. Your employer would need to submit a form, and the link is in the description below. So here's a quick screenshot actually of what my training file looked like when I went to submit. So this is a summary checklist I was talking about. That therefore does go and kind of prove that you do need to get to the end of your training agreement before submitting. So what I typically did was kind of log my work experience every 6 months just to kind of stay on top of it. The reason I'd recommend it though is because you can coincide it with those 6-month reviews. So what I would do is just export the timesheet for the period that you want to log. I would then, identify all of the hours that do qualify as practical work experience, and there is a kind of strict criteria for that. So do just make sure you are recording that correctly and you're not putting in anything extra that you shouldn't be. You then need to make sure that you are accounting for days as 7-hour days, as that's what's recommended by ICAEW. Then I would just send it on to your employer to authorize. So to log the time in the training file, I'm actually very disappointed in myself because I actually took no screenshots of this, which is very annoying. I'll talk you through it anyway. So you'd click on the practical work experience tab, and then you will go to add practical work experience. So enter the dates in the calendar and then just put in the number of days that you have already calculated. You also need to be very specific with the time that you enter in terms of whether it's with your primary authorised employer or whether it's on a secondment with your employer or an unauthorised employer. Then you just state the name of your employer and select them from the drop-down list so they can then confirm that information. The final step though is confirming that a regular mandatory review takes place and also that all the information is accurate. So something I did take a screenshot of is when you're ready to submit. Your summary tab will actually update and look something like this. So there is an audit qualification tab which I've mentioned in this video previously. And this is applicable to anyone who has worked in audit and who are wanting to sign audit reports in the future. So you might be thinking like, well, that is definitely not me, or I've done audit and I'm just thinking, not really. It's not actually something you even need to, of course, then fill in to become ACA qualified because everyone doesn't do external audit. It did kind of feel like extra admin and I thought maybe not to do it. If you didn't log it now, you'd actually lose them. I thought it would just be a waste if I didn't, so I did log that. And this again needs to just be split into 6-month periods, and I've got screenshots again of how to do it. There's the same kind of thing where you put in the dates, the number of days. And so regarding the nature of the audit work, I'd write about 4 or 5 lines for each depending on the key details about the client and the industry. This might actually be more details than needed, so I think just a couple of lines really should do. Because I had kept an activity log, and this is something that I'd really recommend to people, it wasn't then actually difficult to do. If you're smarter than I was, then it was probably best to kind of log that at the same time you were logging your practical work experience days. For the audit qualification tab, you actually only need to log 240 working days. However, there is a requirement that 120 days have to be worked on statutory audits. Where I personally went wrong in this was recording some of my public sector audit work, such as NHS audits or council audits, as statutory audit work, whereas it actually should have been other work. So this was highlighted to me by my reviewer, so I did go back and change it. I also made the silly mistake to tick the box to say that I was performing audit work outside of the UK, which was not the case, and I was able to go back and change that. Again, my reviewer flagged this so I could edit it, but if not, you might have to email them at aq@icaew.com. So once I had finally come to the decision that I was happy with my training file, documented everything that I needed to, all I needed to do was select the appropriate reviewer from my firm and then press submit. So up here actually you'll see the notification that I got, and hopefully you'll be getting the same soon. So now it's in the hands of your employer for them to quiz you before you can then get the green light to get submitted. I got an email notification from ICAEW. I was honestly so excited. It literally just said your training file has been signed off by your employer. As mentioned at the start, you don't get your certificate straight away, and that's because ICAEW need to take time to verify all the information too. They did also say they'd contact me directly if they had any queries. And yeah, fortunately there were no issues and it was a smooth process. I would be invited to membership via email. Processing time is roughly a minimum of actually 12 weeks, and in some periods it can be longer, especially if you've got incomplete submissions. Looking back at my records, the email about my employer approving was actually on the 5th of October, and then I was actually officially invited for membership on the 7th of January. I then took a little bit of time to become a member on the 15th of January, and I received my certificate on the 1st of February this year. Those 3 letters, so ACA, that we literally are all working so hard for, that then pretty much went up in my name like straight away after that. But if you are in this position, a massive congratulations, you did it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, then do give it a thumbs up. Any questions, do drop them in the box below. I'd be happy to answer those. And as always, I'll be back with more videos every single week, so make sure you do subscribe, and hopefully you'll see me again soon. Thanks.